All right. Hello, everyone at Cash Ventures. My name is Steven Wilson. I am applying for the founder in residence position with you guys. Um, I'm just going to take you guys on my entrepreneurship journey and kind of what led me to kind of where I am right now, which is applying for this job. So, everything starts for me at St. Thomas University in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm born and raised and currently live in Minnesota. I went there to get a degree in entrepreneurship. During the time when I was there, one of the cool things that we actually got to do was, stop doing case studies and actually like start a business, and was tasked with giving, starting and getting real revenue and making a product and the whole nine, right? So we, one of the companies that we started was a tea company. The classmate that I got partnered up with was a huge tea drinker and wanted to start a tea company. We only have a semester to kind of get this whole thing started and finished. So we didn't spend a ton of time going back and forth on ideas. Sounded like a perfectly fine idea to me. Let's get started. Let's go. So anyways, we end up doing about $1,500 in revenue for the semester. And really the point of it was just, look, you guys need to figure out how you need to settle on an idea. You need to figure out how to make the product that you're going to sell, and then you need to sell it, right? We're talking about the very basics here. So it was a great opportunity to learn the basics and actually build up some confidence in terms of like, hey, I actually made some money here, and that $1,500 is that's real money to a college student. So um, anyways, I graduate from St. Thomas, and I want to start something, a little bit more serious after I graduate. But the problem I'm having is I'm broke. I don't have any money. So my plan at the time was I'm going to go work a job. I'm going to live at home. I'm not going to have any rent, and I'm going to save up $50,000, and then I'm going to, make a go at something a little bit more serious. So, anyways, I worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car as a management trainee for a year and a half, and that's then once I hit my $50,000 number, I left Enterprise to start something um, more serious on my own. The This was all during the time like right when COVID was first kicking off, and so the way that I was thinking about things and kind of what I was seeing was we had a very unique situation where everyone was locked inside on their phones, on the internet. You had a really unique time where people were getting stimulus checks, and so they just had extra money to spend. And then to make the situation even more perfect, there was a large boycott of advertisers on like a lot of the major ad platforms, specifically Facebook. And so the CPMs for ad costs were just like really, really low. And so it was like the perfect storm to start a e-commerce business. Like I couldn't have like got the timing any better. And so at the time I was selling fitness equipment. I was very fortunate. I had two friends that I had grown up with that had a third party logistics company, and so they were like, "Look, if you can get the product shipped over here, we'd be happy to pick, pack, and ship it for you." I was like, "Great." I'm going to figure out the things that I need to do, which is the first one is like, how do I build a website on Shopify? I don't know how to do that. Okay, I figure out how to build a website on Shopify. Okay, great. Next, I need to figure out how to get some inventory. I need to figure out how to buy inventory from China and then get it shipped over to the United States. Okay, I'm going to figure that one out. Got it. And then, the last piece of the puzzle is I have no idea how to get website traffic to my website. No idea, right? So I need to figure out how to run ads. Okay, I'm going to spend the time learning how to run ads. I'm going to figure that out. Okay, I've got all the pieces to the puzzle here. Let's get rocking and rolling. So I get rocking and rolling, and it starts working, basically immediately. I couldn't have got the timing more right, like I said. So I still remember the like first, if you guys are familiar with the Shopify cha-ching sound, I still remember the first sound, and that was just like the greatest high I've ever had in my life. Like, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people on the team can relate to that. But that was just like the most exciting thing ever. And so I spent a couple years building up this business. I take it from zero to uh, at the peak doing $850,000 a year in revenue. Quite a big step up from the measly $1,500 that I did at St. Thomas. So there was a lot of learning that happened along the way there, and a lot of skills that got built up. Um, but one of the bottlenecks that I ran into during this time was, I needed a way to differentiate my product from other people on the marketplace. I'm selling fitness equipment at the time. Um, you know, the only thing I'm doing is basically just like putting a brand name on the product, and I needed a way to make it different, to make it stand out more, to kind of take it to the next level. And I'm just terrible at designing physical products, like just awful. It's not natural for me at all. It was, something that I did not pick up very quickly. It really just wasn't sticking that well with me. And so this is a serious bottleneck for me and the business at the time. And so I'm trying to figure out kind of what to do here, because I really can't figure out a way to get around the bottleneck of I'm just not good at designing physical products. And so around this time, um, this is kind of in 2021, where Bitcoin is going on a bull run, way up to 60,000. I had not taken a serious look at Bitcoin at the time, and so I decided to take 30 days and kind of go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. And it's probably not a surprise that I come out the other side, and I'm like really really excited about it. And naturally, I of course have to have a business doing this, and so I'm throwing kind of all different ideas at the wall and trying to figure out, like, what kind of business makes sense for me. And kind of like before, I'm trying to figure out, like, are there any like momentum, like trends that are going in my direction? Like, are there any like pieces of the puzzle that I already have in place? Like, I'm trying to kind of be strategic here again, because I don't have a ton of, I have more money than when I was in college, but I'm still kind of limited, um, and I have to be very resourceful with kind of the resources that I do have. And so, anyways, I land on Bitcoin mining as kind of the avenue that I'm going to take, and I'll explain the reasoning why I decided to go in that direction. So, to start Bitcoin mining, you need kind of three separate things. You need cheap electricity. So my family owns some farmland down in Iowa. There are wind turbines everywhere, all over the place. And knowing this, I was like, there just has to be cheap electricity down here somewhere. Like, if I go and I start asking around the utilities, I bet I can find some cheap electricity. Okay. We need the machines are really really loud, so they can't be in a city. They can't be next to anybody's house. They have to be out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, we can just stick these machines just in the middle of our fields. You can buy these kind of like purpose special built shipping containers. We just call them containers, but think of them like a shipping container with you know a bunch of slots in them and big fans, and you can put the miners in them. Okay, great. We can just stick one of those on the farm, and nobody, there's not houses for miles and miles away. Nobody will care. No one will even know. Okay, great. Got that figured out. And kind of the last piece of the puzzle there was, like, we needed a blue collar individual who could work with the contractors, who could fix the machines, kind of being the main one. And again, I'm getting fortunate where my younger brother, who's a year and a half younger than me, was a car mechanic for 7 years before we started Wilson Mining. He's the most mechanically gifted person that I know, and so I called him up one Tuesday night, and kind of started my little pitch with him about why we should start a Bitcoin mining business. And I'm like 20 seconds into my pitch with him, and he's like, "Yes, I'm in. Let's get going. Let's start. I'm gonna quit my job tomorrow. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go." So, anyways, we take off and we start fast, and make a ton of mistakes the first year, but kind of after we're done making mistakes and kind of learning how this whole business works, um, we start to pivot the business from being just a pure play Bitcoin mining company to more of a service provider within the industry. And there's a handful of reasons why we decided to do that. Um, the first one being is just the Bitcoin mining is it's a high capital expenditure business. High capex. The machines are expensive. The containers are expensive. Everything that you need is all very expensive. And so there are people within the Bitcoin mining industry that don't have access to cheap electricity, or they don't have the know-how to be able to run the machines. And so what we would do is what's called within the industry, it's called hosting. You can think of it like similar to AWS, where we're managing servers for people or machines for people. You could also think of it like in a real estate term, like we're kind of the property managers. Um, and so what people are doing is they're reaching out to us and they're saying, "Hey, I would love to mine Bitcoin. I have machines. Can I send the machines to you guys, and then you can run them on your cheap electricity, and then manage the machines for me on a day-to-day basis and take a fee for that." And so, anyways, we started transitioning the business in this direction kind of in late 2022 and early 2023. We are kind of ready to launch this offering out into the marketplace. Um, Unfortunately, we did not get the timing right on this one. So Bitcoin goes from up in the 60,000s all the way down to about 16 or 17,000, um, and so that is unfortunate with the timing, but we still end up doing like really really well with our first container. We sell everything out, and kind of the last, I guess the fourth reason I really liked heading transitioning the business towards hosting instead of just being a pure play Bitcoin miner, was all the other hosting providers in the industry were just not marketing very well, or like even marketing at all. And being in e-commerce, which is a very marketing heavy type of industry, I felt like I had a lot better and more polished marketing and advertising skills than basically everybody else in the entire industry. And so because of that, even though the timing wasn't working out for us super well, we were still able to sell out the container like really quickly within the first month, just because I was out marketing everybody by a ways. Um, and so, anyways, we get our first container sold out. Great. Let's get a second one. We get a second one, sell it out. Great. We get a third one. Um, you know, get it up and running, sell it out. Great. We get a fourth one, get it up and running, sell it out. Great. Um, Business is going really, really well. We started at obviously $0 in revenue, and we're up past $2 million in revenue, which is again a step up from where I was at in e-commerce. Um, and then we kind of started, some things started not going our way. And, I've kind of been telling people, my friends and family privately, it's kind of my turn to, I guess, get humbled. And so we had a bunch of things just not go our way. And so what happened was we spent pretty heavily on CapEx, and towards the end of 2025, when the Bitcoin price was, at all-time high at 120,000, thinking that we were going to have a lot of demand for our hosting services. It takes many, many months to get all of this kind of infrastructure ready to go and in place. And so by the time we were ready to have it go, um, we just didn't have any demand for the container. So we had CapEx that was basically sitting there, that we currently have, that's sitting there kind of dead right now. To add insult onto injury, the Bitcoin price crashes down, so that drastically affects demand. We also have our, at the end of 2025, we have our utility provider who provides us our electricity, raise our hosting rate, or raise our electricity rate, which really cut our margin. So we'll make typically a 20% margin, and they raise the rates by 10%, which drastically affects the profitability of things. So now we're in a situation where we have to figure out, what are we going to do here? We have all of our money sitting in CapEx that we can't sell, um, and we need to literally pick everything up and move to a different, to get a better electricity rate. And that's going to be super super expensive, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, and so we're just short on cash, right? Very very simple. So we kind of hang our heads for 24 hours, and then we just literally call and email every single utility company in the entire Midwest of the country. That's not an exaggeration. Like, make a list, put it in a spreadsheet, email, call them, like literally every single one in the entire country. Um, and so, anyways, within a week we find some really good options, but we still have a problem of we don't have enough money to basically pick everything up and move it ourselves. And so, the decision that we had to make was, we're not going to be able to take salaries from the business, so we can save up enough money um, to be able to move everything. And this is going to take at least 3 years minimum. Probably longer than that. I'm projecting kind of a 3 to 5 year plan. So Eric, my brother, he is the business quite literally can't run on a day-to-day basis without him. So I bit the bullet and decided I'm going to go just get a job, and I'm not going to take a salary from our business. Um, and so yeah, that's kind of what led me to the current position that I'm in. I still really, really want to do, stuff that is really closely related with entrepreneurship and starting businesses. Like, this is where my skill set really, really aligns to. Um, I've done this twice now, like starting businesses from zero and turning them into, many multiples plus past that. I'm very, very confident I can definitely do it a third time within your guys' organization. Um, so, anyways, that's my story. That's my journey. I'm really, really excited about the opportunity. I would love a chance to interview further and talk more about the position. So, anyways, if you guys are interested, just reach out. I'll have all my information. I look forward to talking with you guys. Thank you.